Hi everyone, today we are going to talk about landscapes and the illusion of space or depth in a picture. We normally hear about illusion of space and depth and we think about linear perspective, the boxes going back into space. We're not going to worry about that today. We're just going to talk about objects and how they behave in space. So let's start by taking some notes on the right side of our paper. First thing I'd like you to do is just draw 3 small circles in a row. Now, these circles have no depth. They're just 3 circles in a line. So let's go over our first way of helping to create depth. The first one is take one circle and then we're going to draw another circle behind it. So I'm going to create an illusion of overlap. And then another one behind that. So I have a front, a middle, and a back. The second one is size. Whenever things are in front or closest to us, they're pretty large. And then they get progressively smaller as they get away from us. So things decrease in size from large to itty bitty teeny tiny. So size. The third thing I'd like you to consider is position. Whenever things are close to us, they tend to be lower on the page, and then they progressively move their way up as they get farther away. So position, lower equals closer. The fourth thing that we want to consider is detailing of objects. So let's just say I have 3 circles again, no depth here, but these have little faces in them. Things that are close are going to have lots of detail. We're going to be able to see everything. The further away we get, those details get a little lighter and maybe not as clear. And when they're really far away, there's minimal amount of information for us to see. So the closer things are, the more details they will have. The further away, that information is going to decline. So again, gets less, so that large to small kind of information. The next thing that we want to consider is going to be contrast. So let's get another set of little circles in here for us to have for some notes. Let's do 4. So the one that is closest to us is going to have the clearest and most extreme contrast. The next one is going to decrease in contrast. So it may not be pure black, it might be kind of that middle dark, but it's also going to have a little bit of gray starting to peek through. It's not going to be a pure white either. Then I'm going to my third, and again, maybe that dark gray has gone to a middle gray. And still that white is also going to get a little bit darker. These are really close in value. And the things that are farthest from us, they might just appear flush, like even all the way across. We won't really see a lot of contrast change. So contrast. Keeping value in mind. The last thing that I want you guys to always keep in mind is kind of the location of something. So let's put, again, our 3 circles in, 4 if you'd like. But we want to create a location. Right now, all of these little circles are just floating in space. They aren't anywhere. So if we put in a horizon line behind them, so that overlapping rule, now we've created a location. This line could be, the sky and the ground. It could be the edge of a table. It's giving us a place for something to be sitting. So right now, these aren't just these 4 or 5 up here. They're just floating. Number 6 is in a location. this location is created just by this horizon line back here. What's nice is from that we can build, like we can do some little mountains back here, a couple mountain ranges. You could even put some tree lines back here. And now all of a sudden, these little spheres are in a place. And if they're in a place, that means there's usually a light source. So we've got a little sun over here, which means we have cast shadow. Whoop. Now they're definitely sitting on something because we've got that shadow in place for us. I can even give it little grass. So, location, that's all created by that little horizon line, making sure there is no floating. So all of those floating, this one grounded in a location. Now that we have our 6 elements of depth learned, overlap, size, position, detail, contrast, and location, let's make a small composition with these elements. I'm going to start by drawing 3 rocks. And remember, the first one is going to be the lowest and the biggest. So I'm going to start angling back, up, and it's just a rock, so I'm just going to make it kind of organic. It's not a super box, but here's the basic. There's the first one. I'm going to get a second one, and I'm going to follow that overlap rule, really enforcing that we have something in space here. Up again, and down. And then I'm going to draw another one, kind of back here in the distance. Not as much information there on this one. The next thing that I am going to do is I want to make sure that I'm putting this in a location. So I'm going to grab a horizon line or just place one in. So I have a horizon line. And I think I actually want to make this a ledge, like going down into a canyon or something. So I'm going to draw a line back. It's kind of wavy. And then to give this the illusion of depth, I'm going to draw some lines down. So now all of a sudden I'm getting a cliff that's starting. And if I don't like something, I can just go in and adjust it. Like I want that ledge to be out further. So I'm gonna erase this little guy. All right, so I've got a cliff going. Let's make this kind of jagged because it's rocky. It's not straight, super straight, so give it a little bit of texture lines there. So here's my ledge. Next thing I think I'd like to add is I want to maybe get, let's do some little hills behind here. So one hill behind the rock, maybe another one, just a soft one, going down to the ledge. That's kind of close. I think I want another one in front of that, just a little smaller. And we live in Colorado, so let's place in some mountains. Let's get one peak. And I'm just placing these behind. I'll get another one. And let's do a third, because everything's better in 3s. All right. Remember, it's behind, so don't let those lines cross over unless you really need them to. Now we have our landscape, we have some rocks, we have a couple hills. Let's just add a few trees in here too. I want these further in the distance, so I'm gonna make sure that they're not bigger than the rocks. Let's do 1, 2, bring this down a little bit, so maybe that's in our valley. So these have kind of 2 layers that I can see. Let's put another set on the hill. Now those are getting even further away, so there's not as much information, so I'll just have 1 layer present on these. And I'm starting with just basic shape. I start with little triangles. And let's throw a couple more in there. Give it a little bit more of a forest fill. Change the size of those. Not all of them are the same size. We're not making a grid. And then I have this other hill that's even further back before the mountain, so let's just grab a couple little posts back there. You'll just see the way I've changed those is they're even smaller. So that large, medium, small, or tiny. The other thing that I think is similar to see in these type of drawings is maybe a path. So maybe we want a road going between these two stones. Coming out. So its widest point goes there. This is a little confusing. Take that out. And then as we go further back, that road gets smaller. But it doesn't have to end there. Maybe it goes up and over this hill. So I move it over a little bit, like it's gone through a little bit of a space change. All right, so I have placed in my objects, and I have a cliff and a mountain. Now what I want to do is actually render and start building contrast. And the only way we're going to make sure that these stay three-dimensional is we consider our value as we're building our pen. So I'm going to go in and render, and you can stay tuned and watch. So here is my completed rendering of my first landscape sketch. I'm now going to ask you to render your own, and when you're done, make sure you erase any of your pencil marks. This should definitely be done in pen. It's fantastic practice to get you feeling set and confident. Remember to keep in mind your rules of depth or elements of depth, and maintain that knowledge of value, integrating as many details and value changes super close up front in your close objects, and slowly decreasing that level of value change as you move your way back. All right, when you are done, photograph your stuff and upload it for me to grade.